testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Cahill. Okay, members, agenda item 1, apologies. I have not received any, so if there are any from the floor, please indicate. And just following on from some instructions we were given online, we have Councillor Alexander, Councillor Armstrong, Alderman Barr, Councillor Nelson and Councillor Wilson. If there's anybody else joining, we'll endeavour to let you know. Alderman Rankin.
What? Oh, sorry. No, just
Thought you were coming in at the start there to give us a lecture. Members, bear with me. I have a bit of hay fever today, so I'll probably sound a bit worse than what I normally sound, but bear with me anyway. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. As per usual, we'll just take it as we go. Agenda item 3 is a report from the Head of Health and Recreation Report. Members, these are 3 information items, and for agenda item 3.2, I am going to ask that we move into confidential business, as it may involve some contractual matters. So are there any questions relating to either item 3.1 or 3.3 before we cover the second matter? Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I would just like to say thank you very much for the report, and as it pertains to indoor leisure, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the St Patrick's Trophy, which was, I have to remember, but I think 2 weekends ago there in the centre, and I watched one of the games there, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I spoke to Mark Daly sort of during the event, and then again after, and the feedback for the centre was absolutely fantastic. So a big thank you to all the staff and basically everyone involved there for that event, because it was absolutely brilliant, and it was fantastic to show off the centre, you know, in sort of all its glory there. And I believe that event will be coming back on an annual basis now, which is absolutely fantastic as well. So just wanted to pass on my thanks and basically just let it be known that it was an absolutely fantastic event, and Northern Ireland managed to win it this year again. So very positive outcome all around. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Alexander. Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just in relation to item 3.1, the indoor leisure report, just a note that there's a drop in membership in Katie, and it's explained that it's because of the way the booking system between pitches and indoor. Is there an opportunity to get some the usage numbers for the pitch? This place bugs me because pitches are in one committee and buildings are another, but because this is actually part of this committee, we should be getting the details in relation to the 3G pitch. Is that correct? Even though it's the booking system is under another department.
Okay, thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Darren, I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Councillor O'Hanlon, for your question. In relation to the information we capture on pitches, when a pitch is booked, we don't actually capture the number of people using it at that particular point in time, and so it's more about our ability to capture that data because it's captured on the pitch booking system as opposed to the legend system that we use for buildings. So what we are working on now at the minute with colleagues in CSP is that we try and see, is there a way that we can build in to that system how we capture those numbers. So that is being worked on by colleagues both in my department and in Claire Duddy's department. But just for the record, we actually do manage, so when a booking goes onto the system, our staff in Indoor Health and Rec look after the pitch, the bookings and reporting through any issues with it. The maintenance then is taken up by another department, and that's consistent across the board.
Councillor O'Hanlon, are you content? You want to come back in?
Look, I think thank you, Chair, and thanks, Darren, for that. But just in relation to then, whilst we don't get the number of people on the pitch, have we some data just to show in terms of pitch booking usage maybe that could be used? Because it just would demonstrate that if you read that, you could nearly suggest that there's been a drop in the number of bookings at the pitch, whereas at least even if it was just to say there are X number of bookings per annum on each of the pitches that fall within your remit, I think that would be useful. Thank you.
Okay, comments noted. Councillor O'Hanlon. Sorry, I have Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, sorry for being late in there, but it was just on that pitch issue and the wider issue, I suppose, focusing on Rich Hill from the indoor perspective. I know we have an issue there outdoor, which is impacting the indoor, and indoor really isn't a substitute for the outdoor provision that has been closed for this last number of weeks. So I know this is crossing over into the other committee, but it's a bit of an annoyance that from that perspective that, you know, we can only in this committee focus on certain elements of leisure provision. I think it's an issue. I don't like it because when I go to raise something, it's another committee that I'm not sitting on. I just feel really restricted. I'd like to know generally on a wider point through the chair if that sort of division in authority in terms of committees is a positive or a negative. I think it's a negative. It's something I would like reviewed from a general perspective as to why that piece. I know I get the outdoor element and the other committee's role environmentally, but I think from purely a leisure proviso, it's our provision. It's something we need to look at. I'd like to see it brought back into this committee because it makes it more complicated. You know, with a piece on Rich Hill, with a mugga that you can't use, it's, you know, people are going indoor in the summertime when they want to be outdoor, but I can't talk about it in this committee. It's really frustrating. Then you have to wait the full council and it's just delay. And I think it's something we need to address going forward on a wider point. But on my first point, what is the situation with the mugga in Rich Hill? Because I look at the leisure centre as one element, which is a leisure provision, and it's badly hamstrung at the minute, and I would like some clarity on what we're going to do to reopen that first and foremost. I don't think it's going to be good enough for a whole summer to pass without the community and any sense or idea as to what's going to happen with that very important and useful pitch. Bearing in mind, it was led with what could be described as a second-hand surface, which at the time, I think it was the old Armagh days, it was fine. I mean, we'd rather have had it over the tarmac underneath, but at the same time, it was a second-hand service to start with. I think it's well overdue a revamp, and I don't say that lightly. That's coming from people who are getting increasingly more frustrated with that situation in Rich Hill, and I'd like a plan of action as to how we're going to open it again.
Alderman Wilson, I believe this matter was discussed at Environmental Services Committee in great detail. Are you aware of the outcome of that conversation? Or I'm just reluctant, and I share your frustration that sometimes these matters can cross over committees, and if you don't sit on it, you can kind of miss on it. But I'm reluctant to get into another conversation that might have already been covered. Are you aware this has been covered previously?
Yeah, I had something. I mean, I wasn't on that committee. I know you can, join without voting rights, but I'm aware of that. But in this committee, given it's a well-being issue, I know that's more of an estates issue, but I think there's a major crossover between the two, and that's where my frustration comes from. But if we could, even for the DEA members, we could get some type of direction, I think would be very, very useful. I would even propose a meeting. I don't know if that was proposed at the last meeting, but it would certainly be useful for the people of Rich Hill to understand and know what the circumstances are. I've tried to explain it, but it's a complicated issue that there's no immediate answers to, but I would like some immediate answers to.
That has already been proposed and agreed at the ES Committee, so I'm pretty confident as Chair that that is being looked at and is being dealt with. Are you content that that's followed up as was agreed at the ES Committee? Okay, thank you. Alderman Tinsley?
Thank you, Chair. It's a slightly different one. It's back to really what Councillor Alexander had raised, and that was with regards to the Northern Ireland Volleyball tournament that took place recently at South Lake Leisure Centre. I received an email from one of the directors, and they were praising the staff and everyone that was there. I was at the tournament myself, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was fantastic of everything that took place. There's an international tournament, and Chair, forgive me, I meant to put this in under AOB. In fact, I was convinced I had done it and then realised I didn't get it through. But it's just, there's an international volleyball tournament being organised for June 2026 at our South Lake Leisure Centre. And I just thought, as part of a welcoming that we could hold, if officers could maybe to have a discussion with the Chief Executive and the Lord Mayor's office, just to have some kind of a reception for those international teams that are coming over. I think it would be a wonderful way to start the tournament. And giving them the international recognition. I did this whenever I was Lord Mayor for businesses that were coming over from international, and just something along those lines, just as a, you know, we don't need to get into it all tonight, Lord Mayor, or sorry, Chair, but if I could just propose that we could look at it, I think it would be excellent, both for the centre, for the international teams. I see a lot of nodding heads there, Chair, but I've made a proposal, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, no, I'm happy with that. Alderman Tinsey, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. So if we just get somebody to second that, I'm sure we'll be happy enough. Seconded by Alderman Baxter. Okay, members, I still have Councillor O'Hanlon rolling the dice for a third time tonight already.
Chair, just just on the general issue that Alderman Wilson raised about the crossover in the committees, can we refer that to the governance working group and have that look at it, because it is a nonsense that we're part of, we look at leisure, but we're not allowed to look at some of the facilities that the leisure actually takes place in. You know, so if we could refer to the governance working group to review around the committee structure and see if that's possible.
Thank you, Chair. Look, just noting comments both from Alderman Wilson and Councillor Hanlon. Look, members will know that there was a previous agreement by Council to split the department. But what I will say is, from an officer perspective, in terms of the functioning of the pitches, the split is actually an indoor-outdoor split. So indoor always would have taken the bookings anyway. And our outdoor would have taken the bookings and indoor would have facilitated the bookings. There is no change to how that operates for us as officials. And in terms of the maintenance and all of those things, there's no change really for the process that we would follow internally to make that happen. The difference, I appreciate, is that some of that will necessarily be reported through ES in terms of pitches, pitch replacements, pitch maintenance and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of the daily operations, officers don't really have an impact on that, and so I would just note those comments. What I will say is, in relation to Rich Hill specifically, it has been reported and recorded through the normal channel, and that will have to be captured as part of the work on pitches, albeit it does sit with the team who always dealt with pitches previously. They just don't report to this committee, so I do know members' comments in that regard.
Thank you, and I'm confident now that that will be brought to the governance working group. I think it's a conversation we all need to have, especially since we designed it, but there we go. Okay, members, I am going to ask for a proposer and a seconder to go into committee for the discussion on 3.2. Councillor Flaherty, Councillor McCartan. Are you happy? Pardon? Hold on. No, we're going into 3.2, the maintenance. We're not on 4.1, we're still on item 3.2. Aye. Can I just ask ICT to confirm we are not online for this? have to start issuing yellow cards for people that bring up matters that are. Could you not be bad cop and I'd be good cop here, Stephen? Sin bin, I'm told. Back on. Okay, thank you, Cal. Okay, members, we're going to move on to agenda item 4, and I'm going to hand over to Ruth.
Good evening, members. This report is deputation requests. And members are advised the Council have received 2 requests to make presentation to committee from Positive Life NI on the work they do in supporting people living with and affected by HIV. And further detail on their work is in the appendices. And also from Community Advice Services ABC about the new amalgamated organisation and their work in the community, which has been majority funded through service level agreement from Council. Members are asked if they wish to receive presentations from Positive Lives and Community Advice Services at future meetings.
Thank you, Ruth. Members, I don't think this is too controversial. That being said, I would imagine we don't want them both on the same night. Is that okay? I still need a proposer in a second that we accept this. Councillor O'Hanlon and Councillor McCartan. All agreed? Okay, perfect. Members, we're going to move on to, hold on, am I missing? Yes, agenda item 5, which is correspondence, of which it'll be no surprise we have none. So members, for agenda item 6 is confidential business, so just bear with me on this. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can resume? Thank you, Cahill. Can I get another proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations we've just made in committee? Councillor Kane, Alderman Tinsey, thank you both very much. Agenda item 7, AOB, we have none. So, members, I want to thank you and wish you all a safe home. And officers, once again, thank you for all your work in the reports, and same to yourself, safe home.